We Malaysians love our food. The downside? We're one of the countries with the highest amount of food wastage. We throw away 15,000 tons of food every single day, out of which 8,000 tons are avoidable food waste, and out of which 3,000 tons are edible food waste. This can feed about 2 million people. During festive seasons, food waste can increase up to 50%. On the other end of the spectrum, according to the World Bank, there are 1 million undernourished people in Malaysia. Our food waste can fill up Petronas Twin Towers in just 18 days. When food waste decomposes and disintegrates in the landfill, it emits greenhouse gases, affecting climate change and global warming.
There is an offensive against the insurgents, the Al-Shabaab militants in some parts of the region and in Bay and Bakor regions. So a lot of people are displaced from their homes as a result of those crises. So that increases the number of the IDPs that were already vulnerable to this drought.
waxaan meeshaas iga soo waday ceel bay ahayd ceelkii baan ku oonnay waan ku maxay dalkii baan naga fogaaday magaaladii baan naga soo fogaatay saas awgeed oo meesha maxaan ku dhahay hay'ad iyo samafalka uga jiro ugu soo dhawow oo u dhawow ama biyaha ama magaalada ay ka dhowdaan u imid
sababtan u soo qaxay baadida waraadsan waa inaan kolkor waxaan ka soo qaxnay cadow dhulka markaas iyadeen nala soo foodsaar Al-Shabaab iyo abaar sukaan gashay.
We are now in an extremely fragile situation where food security and nutrition has deteriorated quite significantly. There's been a bad harvest, there's not enough water for livestock, which means they have to migrate far. Also, supply to the markets has been disrupted. So the traders are not able to bring food into some of these areas, and that has put even more pressure. It means the prices have increased sometimes twofold, and people are really not able to meet their food needs in that situation.
We appeal to the international community to come up with a spirited humanitarian response, because this drought will impact thousands of people that are living in the region. If immediate response is not given on time, it will cause a widespread humanitarian calamity.
On the brink of death, 2-year-old Abdullahi is dying from hunger. His mother can barely watch as a team of doctors work to save her son. This intensive care unit is in Maiduguri, in northeast Nigeria, where many victims of Boko Haram have fled, seeking refuge. Here, the Doctors Without Borders team treat the most serious cases of malnutrition every day. They're seeing an increasing number of children starving and desperate.
Several of them, they have a very serious condition. They are a critical patient, and mainly the disease that we see all the day in the ICU are related to sepsis, pneumonia, malaria, diarrhea.
For 7 years, the Islamist militant group Boko Haram has waged its bloody insurgency across the north of Nigeria and into the border region of Lake Chad. An estimated 20,000 people have died. More than 2.6 million have had to flee their homes. Now the United Nations estimate that some 65,000 people are living in famine. Even emergency medical teams are shocked at what they're seeing.
The last time we had such serious cases was like when we had the Nigerian Civil War, when people behind the front lines, and immediately the crisis was resolved, that were able to come out, and we saw very, very bad cases.
The UN says it now needs $714 million to fund its programmes. But with Nigeria now in recession, it's only received 21% of the $484 million it needs. And the situation may be worse than feared, with some rural areas cut off by fighting and insecurity.
Right now, more than half of the region is still inaccessible. So there are still a lot of people out there who need a lot of help.
With land destroyed or mined, farmers unable to grow crops and water sources contaminated, hunger has now become the collateral damage of the insurgency.
People in Yemen say the world has turned a deaf ear to the wails of their hungry children. 500,000 children are so malnourished that they are likely to die unless urgent care is provided. But that's difficult to do in a poor country which has been at war for 2 years.
What I've seen in Yemen is heartbreaking. Signs of malnutrition on every corner, in every health center or nutrition center that we have visited. Very skinny children, stunted, too short for their age, and mothers who are hungry themselves, unable to feed themselves, and therefore it's a vicious cycle of mothers giving their children hunger and malnutrition.
Only half of the $2 billion needed to combat hunger and disease have been raised at the conference in Geneva. Unlike other flashpoints in the Middle East, the conflict in Yemen isn't linked with global security. The UN says that's made it a forgotten crisis compared with others.
On average, a child under the age of 5 dies of preventable causes in Yemen every 10 minutes. And this means 50 children in Yemen will die during today's conference, and all those deaths could have been prevented. Many of the children who survive will be affected by stunting and poor health for their entire lives. We are witnessing the starving and the crippling of an entire generation. We must act now to save lives.
A Saudi-led alliance was called in by the elected government to fight rebel forces called the Houthis. The Sunni military coalition says Shia Houthis are an Iranian proxy force, and to block military supplies, they have blockaded Yemen's ports. But Yemen imports 90% of its food, and the blockade meant to stop weapons has also stopped food supplies. And that's among the causes of malnutrition.
The child who has severe malnutrition is 10 times more likely to die compared to a normal child, unless they receive proper care at a proper time.
There's increasing acknowledgement that a prolonged conflict is in nobody's interest.
We Yemenis believe that only peace can put an end to this suffering and allow us to rebuild our country. So peace is our main goal.
But that goal remains elusive for millions of Yemenis who urgently need humanitarian help. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera.